Okay, we'll kick it off because I see that we've got reached a sort of stable number, and obviously if anyone joins as well, they can access the recording once this is finished. So yeah, thank you for joining the Secure Microsoft 365 and AI-driven workplace with myself, Tom. What we'll do is we'll go through a quick introduction into who I am. Obviously, we've got a jam-packed agenda today, as you've probably seen from the webinar, so I'll kick us off with a quick introduction into who I am first. So my name is Tom Healy. I'm a modern work architect here at CPS. I sit within the Security Compliance and Identity team. My background is in Microsoft 365 and cloud security, so I cover all things from Defender XDR through to Purview and through to Azure as well. So yeah, I'll hand over to Greg just to introduce yourself as well there, if that's okay.
Yeah, of course. So hi, I'm the commercial sales and account lead at CPS. So I've been with the organisation for a couple of years, but my role is very much centred around understanding customer problems, I suppose, and how Microsoft technology can align to it.
Perfect. Thanks, Greg. So enough about us, I guess. We've got, so first up today, we've got the AI-powered security in Microsoft 365. And what I'll do here is I'll talk a little bit about Defender, the unified SecOps platform, and how it's configured as well, and how the observability enhances that productivity with a boost from Security Copilot as well. It leads us on nicely to the Security Copilot's agent overview as well. It's possibly the largest section of this presentation where we'll look at a lot of the default Microsoft agents. We'll talk a little bit about how you can create your own agents and workflows and how we can take the manual work out of repetitive tasks as well. From there, it takes us on nicely to the Discover and Protect against shadow AI usage, where we'll talk about Defender for Cloud App Security, formerly CASB for those of you that are familiar with it, how we can sanction and unsanction applications and make sure that we have that under control. And then from there, we'll talk about how we can reduce the data leakage risks using information protection to first identify and classify your data, and then enhance that with data loss prevention and inside of risk management as well. And then finally, we'll look at how we can take advantage of a current licensing and extract more value out of that as well. See what sort of features are available and what's necessary in today's world as well. Bring up through the different licensing tiers as well. And then obviously throughout all of this, we'll be looking at real world scenarios as well. I'll try and relate this a little bit back to what our customers have seen as well, what we've done in the industry, and obviously AI-driven security in Microsoft 365 as well. So taking us straight onto the AI-powered security in Microsoft 365, it all starts with those foundations of Defender XDR. And this is the suite of tools that is basically used to protect and collates events from endpoints, identities, emails, collaboration tools such as Teams and things like that, apps and data across your organization as well. And what it does is it centralizes those incidents into a single unified platform called the Unified SecOps Experience. And it's a single portal or a single pane of glass, as we like to call it, that allows you to manage your tenant security without leaving that portal. Kind of like that spinning chair analogy where you're jumping from portal to portal. So building on top of this with Security Copilot in all workloads as well, we can use that alongside Defender XDR, and you'll see about that in a second when we get onto the agents. But basically, Defender XDR uses AI, and it uses behavioral baselining and learning to defend and protect your organization and your data and your users as well. So we'll jump straight into the slide about Security Copilot agents as well. Now, I'm not expecting everybody to read every single word on this slide. There's a lot here, but basically this is just more of a jump off point that I'm going to use as we get through the presentation. But basically, Security Copilot agents are there to help automate those repetitive tasks, as I said a second ago. And they're designed to reduce the manual work across your teams as well. So we'll dive in deeper to each of these sections, but just to give a bit of a rundown on what is actually on screen now as well. If we take a look at the access review agent here, first on the left, it's designed to pick up those access reviews through identity governance inside of Microsoft Entra as well. And you can access this and you can talk to it through Teams, through natural language, through a nice little card that pops up as well. You can take your reviews through there, you can comment, you can take those actionable decisions right from your chat as well. Moving on to the second item, so I'm going from left to right here as we go down. So the second item on the screen is the conditional access optimization agent. Whereas most people have a CAB process in place, things often get missed. There's new apps that come out that are used by your users that might not necessarily be covered by policies when they should be, potentially gaps in your conditional access as well with things like MFA and things like that, and misalignment and things. So basically what this agent will do, it uses zero trust principles to then place recommendations into a nice little report for you, and it will send you that as well, again through Teams, and you can implement those through a single click as well. And there's a lot of things in that we can talk about, like phased rollouts and things as well. So I'll get onto that in a second. But third on this list, it's my personal favorite agent. So it's one that I've had a lot of experience with in previous roles as well, where we had the phishing triage agent, as it's called. So as this does, as it says on the tin, really, This helps you respond at scale to user-reported phishing incidents. So inside of Outlook, you'll have a user that has the option to report a message. So if you're using Defender for Office 365 for your email protection, you'll see a report message button there as well. So you can click on that, and what it will do, it will generate an incident in Defender XDR. Now, the phishing triage agent automatically picks those up from its queue once configured. It will review the accuracy of the report, and it does decide if it's a true or false positive there as well. So what it can do is it can sort of streamline that queue of things you have to actually investigate and act upon as well, almost like an analyst taking that first step into that investigation. So fourth one on the list here as well, the threat intelligence briefing agent. This is a close second of mine, a close second favorite of mine. So it's the threat intelligence briefing agent, and it automatically generates a briefing with relevant security information based on your organization's attributes and sort of threat exposure levels as well. And what it does, it pulls in multiple different sources of information, and it generates a briefing as well, cutting down the time it takes to collate that actionable information. So if we look at things like state-sponsored attacks and things like that, supply chain attacks, we can generate a very exec level briefing, but also quite a technical level briefing as well on sort of the steps that we need to use to remediate. So we'll get onto that in a second as well. And number 5 on the list here is the vulnerability remediation agent. And this works with Microsoft Intune, and it uses that to discover the vulnerabilities and provides step-by-step guidance as well. So we'll talk about that in a second. And then finally here, we kind of group a couple of these agents together with Microsoft Purview as well. And this basically uses the data loss prevention triage agent and the insider risk management triage agent as well. And it basically allows you to prioritize those alerts that come through in the queue there as well, indicating sort of the highest risk activities and things like that as well. So yeah, over the next few slides, we'll basically break these agents down. There's a couple of screenshots involved as well, so I can talk you through how they'll look, how you can use them, and obviously how it can help demonstrate the effectiveness as well. I'm not sure if I've just seen that message come through about no audio. Has everyone else got audio? I don't know if we can get a thumbs up in the chat. If anyone else is getting that. Thanks, Corey. And Daniel as well. I can see some hands. Perfect. Feel free to rejoin the session as well, and then Stella or Isabella can actually allow you to join back in. But yeah, we'll carry on, and then obviously anything we need to recap, we can. So moving on to the access review agent. So this helps reviewers manage that identity governance access review through Microsoft Entra ID as well. And rather than having the users manually log into the portal, review those access and assignments, sort of understand the context around the need for the changes and things like that as well, the agent's designed to help with the analysis of that review as well, sort of taking out that legwork that you need to do. And again, as I said at the start, it uses a Teams chat to allow reviewers to discuss and take those informed decisions on access requirements for those users. You can interact with it through natural language. And again, there's some screenshots coming up in a second. And if I pop that up now, this is the screenshot of how it would look in Teams. So it comes through just as a regular chat would, and it basically allows you to act with it as a normal chat, obviously using natural language. And then from there, a card gets shown. I don't know if that's a bit blurry. I'm not sure if that's coming through okay on everyone's screen, but in the middle there, a card will pop up there. You can talk about the actual access review that you're performing as well. So popping up that second screenshot here as well. This shows from an administrative perspective the high-level overview of the agent activity, the SCUs that are used for the agent as well. Now, if you've not heard of SCUs or security compute units before, basically what this is, it's a unit of measurement for the compute required to run Security Copilot workloads as well. Now, I can't remember the exact date, but a couple of months ago, Microsoft have actually changed the E5 billing model, and it now includes a certain number of SCUs with your licensing as well. So, for example, if an organization has Microsoft 365 E5, for every 1,000 paid user licenses, you have 400 SCUs every month for free at no extra cost to yourselves as well. Now, obviously, this scales up to 10,000 SCUs every month at no additional cost. So, obviously, if your users grow, that grows with you as well. So you can keep using Security Copilot for free within that limit. Moving on to the conditional access optimization agent. Now, what this does is it runs every 24 hours on a schedule, and it creates policies in report-only mode and things like that as well, and it sends notifications through Teams. So basically, all this is designed to do is it's meant to recommend and implement those new policies, updates to your existing policies to extend that coverage as well, making sure that that actually picks up gaps within there as well. What we can do with this agent is you can also create what we call policy review reports as well. So it provides insights into spikes and dips that could potentially indicate any sort of misconfiguration. For example, you've started seeing a drop off in multi-factor authentication and things like that as well. But much like that access review agent, it's scheduled like every 24 hours and provides recommendations if any are found as well. Now, one thing that I like to call out, because some people get a bit twitchy when we talk about this as well, the agent doesn't automatically act and remediate the recommendations it provides for you. Obviously, that's for safety, and the agent does require that human element and that input to approve that recommendation before it will do so. So obviously, all it will do at the first stage is just give you that report. And then again, on the left here as well, we talk about a little bit about how it implements with Microsoft Intune, and it monitors the device compliance as well. So it brings the whole picture in there as well. So if anyone's got any conditional access policies that are set to only allow access to your tenant from a corporate device that is compliant, you can use that here as well, and it'll pick that all up. So really building on those sort of zero trust principles as well. As I mentioned earlier in the presentation, the phishing triage agent is my favorite one. I've got a lot of experience using this one as well. It really streamlines that review process for a larger environment where you've got your users that have been trained to use the report message button via the report message in Outlook. And basically, it's designed to triage that alert into a true or false positive as well, and basically streamlining that process for your SOC team to investigate and things here. If you take a look at the screenshot here on the screen, there's that red box that highlights the triage down there in the bottom right as well. So you can see this one's been classified as a false positive, and it obviously has resolved that alert ID there as well. You can then click on this and you can go and see more about it. If I pull this up next. So if you click on that and see more about what the agent's done, this takes you through a nice little graph here that shows you each individual step that the agent's performed as well. So it checks things like the sender address, things like DMARC, DKIM, all the usual things that you would look for in a phishing attack as well that's comes to your organization, sort of general behaviors as well. So things like, has this user seen this email address before and things like that? Is it an ongoing thread? So on and so forth. So yeah, that's how this agent works. It really does streamline that process as well. So if you have this run automatically on any phishing reports as well, again, it's really, really easy to sort of streamline that queue. The only thing I would say is if you've got a lot of reports, just be careful with your SCU calculations as well, because you might find that this obviously burns through those quite quickly if you've got hundreds of thousands of users reporting those messages as well, especially for a sort of high volume email tenant as well. So the last bit on this phishing triage agent as well is you can actually manage the actual alerts here as well, and you can give feedback to the agent, which is really handy because the agent will self-learn as well. So for example, this one here, it's reported this as a false positive, didn't say it was malicious. What we can actually do here as well, we've changed the classification here to say the sender is our corporate compliance training vendor, so this email is legitimate. And then there's that checkbox there that says use this feedback to teach the agent, and then you can evaluate that feedback as well. So basically what we're doing is we're just giving that feedback to the agent, sort of closing that loop, and just making sure that it won't pick this up again in the future. So moving on, and what I'm sort of hoping that you're starting to see as well is how the agents all work closely together, but they're designed to be independent pieces as well. They complement each other and have a clear, distinct boundary, but they have a specific task, what they're designed for as well. So if we take a look at the threat intelligence briefing agent, as I said at the start, this is the agent that I like to recommend customers that are starting their journey with Security Copilot as well, as it's a small win. It allows you to move quickly and implementing those remediations for sort of threats that are coming out in the wild at the moment, and things like that as well. So what actually does the threat intelligence briefing agent do? I've talked a lot about recommending it and things like that so far, but basically it provides you with a summary of collated information events gathered by the Unified SecOps platform and all your other data sources as well. So things like CVEs, a lot of information on news feeds and things like that as well. We'll talk a little bit about a real world example that I've got as well in a second. But basically it generates that information faster than any human really can do it, because it will generate those reports ready for your CISO, ready for your SecOps teams and your analysts as well, ready to act on that information. So the slide here shows a sort of summary in terms of how the threat intelligence briefing will look. It starts off with that executive summary. It starts off in terms of how it's actually like the permissions, the trigger and things like that as well. Any input that you've given it as well. So if you're looking for a specific piece of information, how to detect and prevent against a certain attack and things. You know, if we think back to Log4j a couple of years ago now, all of these things would have been in there. You'd have been able to pop that in and say, actually, I want to make sure we just discover this specific package. Want to make sure that we've got that in there as well. So just to give a bit of a real world use case for this as well, if anyone remembers back to the SolarWinds Orion supply chain attack, that Russian state-sponsored attack, basically compromising those build systems for SolarWinds, they pushed malware and malicious updates to over 18,000 customers from SolarWinds. Now, the threat intelligence briefing agent would have been able to collate that report, pulling things from such as the CVEs that you can use, and then you can pass that on to any further vulnerability remediation agents as well. So, for example, you've got unpatched software there that's vulnerable to this. You can actually pass this information straight into that other agent and allow it to then remediate that for you, sort of taking that legwork out again. So, sort of building on that previous slide a little bit as well, you'll start to see that the activity feed is quite common throughout all of these agents, because you can go into it and you can actually learn and understand a bit more about what the agent was actually doing in the background. So for example, here you can see that this is actually looking for prioritizing CVEs here. We're looking at finding threats by CVEs. We're also looking at threat briefing comparisons and things like that as well. You can dig into each of these and you can actually go in and sort of understand a little bit more about them as well. And then you can sort of see on the left-hand side how it actually got to that executive summary and sort of where that information came from as well. So as I talked about the vulnerability remediation agent a second ago, it leads us on nicely to this slide. So before we continue, please note that this agent is in a limited public preview. So if you go looking for this in your tenant, you might not necessarily have it. It's only available to a select group of customers, but Microsoft are willing to extend this. So if you are interested in trying this agent out, please reach out to Greg, and obviously we can talk from there and we can go speak to Microsoft and things like that for you. But basically this agent builds on top of the Microsoft Defender vulnerability management tooling that identifies common vulnerabilities and exposures, or CVEs as I mentioned earlier, on your managed devices that are managed through Intune. Now, these results are prioritized and remediation and include step-by-step instructions to guide you inside of Intune to remediate those threats as well. So if we think about things like application updates, sort of package updates, anything like that as well, that's all contained within this portal. Now, again, Microsoft Defender Vulnerability Management is not new. However, the agent does build on that foundation and gives you greater context and more actionable insights. So looking at this slide here as well, this just shows you how the vulnerability remediation agent works. This is how it looks in the portal. As you can see on the right-hand side here, we've got the agent suggestions. So this is asking you to update Windows devices, for example, with 2025-03B, update because they're available at the moment. Obviously, that's quite a medium impact of a score there as well. It does give you sort of exposed devices as well, how many devices in your estate are exposed to this threat, and things like that as well. And again, you can actually drill into this further as well. If you click on the individual recommendations there as well and the agent suggestions, you can drill into that and find a lot more information as well. Now, it brings us on nicely to close the loop with the Security Copilot here as well. And we covered all the first-party Microsoft agents to start with there. But basically, Microsoft Purview has these three new distinct agents. So we have the Microsoft Purview Data Loss Prevention Triage Agent. We also have the Insider Risk Management or IRM Triage Agent. And we also have the DSPM agent there as well that's in preview at the moment. So the DLP Triage Agent triages alerts. It generates that are generated in, for example, Microsoft Exchange, Teams, OneDrive, SharePoint devices as well, and they're actioned as well. So we can actually put these into sort of a prioritized queue. So for example, you're actually just sending something that's fairly normal throughout the estate. It's triggered a DLP alert. What the agent will actually do, it can reach out to your users, follow up with them, and understand a little bit more about the case as well. So it goes, why are we sending this information? Is this necessary? Things like that as well. So depending on your DLP policy configurations, you can specify those different actions as well for the agent to follow. Now, the DLP agent can be either triggered automatically. So if an alert is generated, it will delegate that and assign it to the agent, or you can assign it to be triggered by an admin as well. So you'll have to manually go into the portal. You go, there's a DLP alert here. I want to learn a little bit more about it. Let's have an agent review that for us. That'll go away and do all the work for you on that specific one, and then you can review that at the end. Again, the IRM agent works very similar to that as well. So obviously inside of risk, sort of risky activities with data moving around in the tenant, moving outside of the tenant as well. For example, if there's been I like to use the example of the HR connector with Insider Risk Management, where an employee's resigned, for example, they then start extracting your customer lists, your sales list from Dynamics 365, for example. We can start seeing those risky activities inside of Insider Risk Management as well, and the agent can analyze that and start to triage those alerts and start alerting you to things that actually are more important as well, rather than just someone doing generic business activity that might have been falsely flagged. Now, finally, the DSPM agent, or data security posture management. Again, what this agent is designed to do is you use natural language to discover sort of sensitive information throughout your organization as well. So it basically allows you to do a guided workflow for proactive risk management and streamlining that data security operations as well. So you can confidently adopt AI throughout your estate. So if anyone's not familiar with DSPM as well, it's a very, very good tool to understand more about your sensitive information. Again, looking at DSPM specifically for AI as well, you can actually understand more about what the AI has access to, how that would be used, what users have access to it, and things like that as well. So definitely a tool I would recommend looking at if you're not already using it. I'm just going to pause for a drink. So, brings us on nicely after the Security Copilot agents talking about shadow AI usage now. So for those that are starting to notice, or perhaps those of you that are unaware of the use of generative AI and sort of shadow AI usage across your estate as well, if you're already invested into the Microsoft 365 ecosystem, which I imagine probably most of you here are, you can utilize what we call Defender for Cloud Apps, or previously CASB, depending on your license, of course. But what it does, it has a catalog of lots and lots of different SaaS applications. And what we can do from there is we can sanction and unsanction those applications as well. Now, this is a screenshot of the Cloud App Catalog. What I'm doing here at the moment, as you can see on the top, I've filtered by generative AI. Now, Microsoft have classified 1,203 different items for generative AI here as well. So what I've done is I've basically allowed all of the Microsoft Copilot ones, because as a business, we're using Microsoft Copilot here. And then what we're doing, we've actually turned off things like Google Gemini, we've turned off like Google DeepMind, because we don't want people going out and using unsanctioned models, personal subscriptions to things like ChatGPT, GitHub Copilot and whatnot as well. So we can sanction and unsanction that. So I haven't actually explained what the sanctioning and unsanctioning does, but there's basically 3 tiers and 3 levels of control within the Cloud App Catalog here as well. The first one is the monitor mode. And basically what will happen is a user will receive a warning to let them know that obviously we're monitoring the usage of the AI applications. It sort of sets the precedence that actually, should I really be using this for the purposes I'm using it for? Should I be putting my corporate data in here? Things like that as well. And you get a lot of information back into Cloud App Security as well from that as well. The second mode is the sanction mode. And users don't see any sort of pop-ups. They will just be free to use the application uninterrupted. We know that's allowed. What it will do, it will still monitor the traffic. It will still monitor the users that are using it. We can dig into all of that. We still see the security risk factor, all the risk scores and everything like that. But then the third and final mode is the unsanctioned mode. So any user that's on a corporate device will be completely blocked from using that SaaS application. So for example, they're in Microsoft Edge. What it will do, it will pop up a big red screen and say, your access to this is blocked. You cannot access it. Please return basically to your homepage. And from there, that's as far as they'll get. Obviously, if they're not using Microsoft Edge, if you've got third-party browsers installed, you can block it at DNS level and things like that as well, with web filtering and whatnot. But yeah, that's primarily the use of the Cloud App Catalog as well. Now, a lot of people ask me, how am I actually seeing the number of users that are using it as well? Now, I haven't got a screenshot of this one, unfortunately, because this was in a demo tenant, so it's only a couple of users, so I couldn't really get a great screenshot of this. But basically, you can go into it and you can start filtering this based on the number of users as well that are accessing the applications, sort of the data that's going in and out as well. And if you've got all of your telemetry set up correctly with things like Microsoft Purview, you can see the data that's flowing in and out as well. And you can start monitoring like agent responses and things like that as well in Purview, sort of looking at people's prompts, looking at people's responses that they're getting back, sort of the data that's going in and out of that as well, like files and things people are putting into these generative AI models as well. So on another slide here as well. Now, I mentioned that there was 1,203 different applications. Now, I know that becomes very hard to manage as well when this list grows. So it's probably left a question unanswered in people's minds here as well. So what happens if a new provider comes out or a new application? How do we keep this list up to date without any gaps in it? Well, inside of Defender XDR, there's the functionality called the app discovery policy. And this basically triggers an alert. And we can also classify a policy as sanctioned or unsanctioned, or monitor it, apply a specific label. So inside of Defender XDR, you can custom tag things as well. For example, I've got a label in my tenant called Review for SecOps Team, and then from there we can filter based on that. And then so every week at CAB or something like that, people can go through and go, actually, this app's been discovered. It's currently being monitored. we need to make sure that we're doing this on a week-by-week basis, or however you want to work that. Again, what this will do, it will also generate an alert or an incident rather inside of the Defender portal. So if you're managing from a SOC perspective or a SecOps team perspective, you can jump into the Defender portal. You'll be able to see those incidents and alerts as well. And for example, if you're using Sentinel, you can stream that into a specific workspace as well and have that in there. So it moves us on nicely to how we reduce data leakage and risks as well, obviously without killing the productivity for users as well. So how do we actually reduce the risks of data leakage in a modern environment? So we always start with our roadmap for Copilot, and we do a data security piece before that as well, where we actually understand more about your requirements, things like that. So to talk a little bit about that here today, what we do is we start with that discovery phase. So we use technologies inside of Microsoft Purview, such as information protection, data security posture management. We also use cloud app security as well to understand what sort of generative AI models, what cloud apps people are using as well. It's always a question of, first in my list is, are you using it already? Do you know what people are using in your estate as well? Making sure that we do that discovery exercise and understand what you've got, as it really helps us allow make an informed decision basically on that as well. And then once we've got all that information, we can start to move on to the classify section as well. And what we do here is we start labeling content with sensitivity labels, with information protection in Microsoft Purview. We understand what data should and shouldn't be protected. We start understanding a little bit more about your data, what sort of content is contained within. Let's think about sort of HR related data. Should that really be going into a generative AI model? Are we allowing that data to move to and from external parties as well? So a couple of our customers have got internal only data that they'd like to keep internal. Obviously, we can do that with sensitivity labels as well and sort of DLP rules and whatnot. So obviously, once that data has been discovered and classified, we then move on to the protect phase here as well. And that allows us to implement those DLP policies, as I said a second ago, or data loss prevention. That stops the movement of that data external from your tenant. So for example, someone sharing it via OneDrive, sharing it via Teams, via email, anything like that we can protect against as well, and make sure that doesn't leave. And again, as part of this as well, we start rolling out what we call the access controls within information protection. So your sensitivity labels, we can add in sort of access groups and things like that as well to specific files, specific file types and things like that as well. And we also look at safer sharing defaults. So this is like, let's remove that share with everyone link. So if you, for example, you right click your documents, you go share, you can share it with everyone. Just an unauthenticated link that anyone can just click on, access all your documents. So it's quite a scary default. But obviously we then look at that and we rein that in. We actually understand a bit more about your use cases, how your users actually work, because we don't want to start introducing all of these protections right from day zero, because we want to make sure that we users are ready for it, make sure that people are ready for it. But when I say that, we also have to balance that risk as well. So obviously there is a business risk, so we need to make sure that that is understood as well. Now, obviously we've gone through the discover, classify, and protect phases here as well. From here, it leads us nicely onto the monitoring phase as well. So once we've got all that groundwork in place, we can start auditing things like prompts. We can understand the responses that we're getting back from agents as well. So we can start seeing more information there. And then we can start triggering alerts and things like that based on sort of high risk user activity. For example, someone's just uploaded the entire CRM database from Dynamics 365 straight up into ChatGPT. Getting it to run some things on their personal account as well. Absolutely do not want that in place. So yeah, we can trigger alerts based on that with insider risk management and whatnot as well. So that's how it's a very sort of whistle-stop tour of how we would actually implement all this. Obviously, there is a whole process to all of this. And again, as I said, you need to make sure that you have that discovery done properly as well. It brings us on nicely to the Microsoft 365 security licensing screen. So this screen is unfortunately a little bit out of date now, because this week Microsoft have actually released the or announced. If everyone can still hear me, my headphones just decided. I think they just decided to disconnect. Can I get a thumbs up in the chat if people can hear still? Perfect. Thank you. Can see two. That's good. So yeah, Microsoft have actually released this week a new license called the E7 license. So Microsoft 365 E7. And what it does is it brings all of the Microsoft 365 E5 productivity license into a license bundled with Microsoft 365 Copilot. It also brings in what we call Microsoft Entra Suite. And this is basically an enhanced security package that aligns with Zero Trust, and it covers things like identity management, network access, governance. And as well, it will also bring in the new Agent 365. So this is really a control plane for agents, and it sort of allows you to do governance for AI usage and things like that across your organization as well. So just keep that in mind. That is not on this screen. And also these two links at the bottom here in green, they won't include the E7 license as well. So obviously, if you are interested in that license, it releases on the 1st of May this year. Please reach out to Greg as well. Happy to take comments on that as well and any questions later. But basically, what we always say with Microsoft 365 security licensing is start tuning what you've already got in your plan as well. So for example, if you're a Microsoft 365 Business Premium customer, you'll already have Microsoft Entra ID Premium P1. You'll have things like conditional access rather than your security defaults. So you can implement things like multi-factor authentication. You can start blocking non-corporate devices, all sort of clever things like that as well. And then you actually have Defender for Office 365 Plan 1. So this includes your email protection, sort of protection through Teams and things like that as well. So anyone that's communicating with your users from external to internal, also internal to internal, so any sort of risks there as well. And then again, you have Intune Plan 1, which covers all your basics for device management and things like that as well. And then obviously you've got Defender for Business, which is your endpoint protection across your mobile devices and your sort of corporate devices as well, so endpoints. And then what we do from there is normally for a business premium customer that then wants to get into Microsoft 365 enterprise licensing, you've outgrown the 300 people limits, you start stepping that up to the Microsoft 365 E3, which is really your entry point to your enterprise licenses with things like the groundworks for compliance and for security as well. So we start off with the sensitivity labels through information protection, start really classifying content there as well. And we actually get things like DLP for Exchange, SharePoint, and OneDrive as well. And you get the basics of e-discovery as well, which allows you to search for content and things like that throughout your estate. And then you also get the very basic version of DSPM or Data Security Posture Management for AI included with your E3 license as well. So you can start rolling that out to your users and start using that. And then from there, obviously what we've got as well is the Microsoft 365 E5 license, which was up until a couple of days ago, the top license SKU that you could get as an enterprise customer. Basically, this includes absolutely everything for DLP for Teams and endpoints, sort of adaptive protection based on different factors as well. And then you also get that enhanced DSPM for AI as well, which includes those prompt and response sort of auditing and allowing you to dig into that sort of usage as well that I mentioned earlier on. And you also get those SCUs for your Security Copilot as well. So you get those included with E5. One thing that I will always say to customers is you don't normally have a product gap. You will normally have a configuration gap to start with. And I always recommend that you make sure that you're utilizing all of the products from your existing license before you then purchase another one, just on the fact that you'll end up with tech debt as well, where you'll have to go and actually implement all the things that you were going to implement in your new license. So it's making sure that you've got everything in order before you're ready to make that next step to the other license as well. And again, a couple of things that aren't on screen as well. You've got all the add-on licenses as well. So for example, you can use Microsoft 365 E3 with E5 compliance. You can use E5 security as well, EMS E5 as well, if you're not ready to take that big step to E3, from E3 to E5. A lot of our customers we see start out on E3 because they've outgrown the business premium licenses. And then obviously from there, they need that enhanced security. So they'll buy the EMS E5 license. Works out a little bit cheaper than buying the full E5, but they miss out on all the compliance stuff. So then they actually go, actually, we now need the compliance piece. Let's upgrade once we're ready to do that as well. So it's almost a bit of a stopgap. There's a lot of different methodologies in sort of upgrading your license as well. But yeah, that's just a little bit about the security licensing as well. I will hand over to yourself, Greg, if that's okay, just in terms of next steps, because it leads on nicely from the licensing conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. And apologies for no camera. My internet is failing me today. Yeah, I won't take too long on this page because I know we've got time for questions just after. However, if any of this resonates with you, if you guys are facing similar challenges, simply want to have a chat with us, we're very happy to help. As joining, or for joining, I should say, we are offering a complimentary 1-hour consultation, so we can help understand your situation, discuss next steps. Feel free to reach out via email, telephone, come onto our contact us page. We can also provide the recording of this presentation and a PDF version of the slides if anyone would like them as well. So yeah, great. Tom, if you want to go to the next stage and we'll run through any questions if anyone's got any.
Yeah, so just basically, yeah, thanks, Greg. So basically just a thank you from me as well for joining today's session. Obviously, we've got time allocated to answer any questions. So feel free to raise your hand if you're comfortable speaking. I'm happy to take Q&A through the feature in Teams as well. So if you just look up there, the raise the hand button, it's up there as well. Feel free to type them in the chat. Obviously, yeah, as Greg said, if anyone's got any questions that they want to sort of explore separately to this, feel free to reach out as well.